So we want to talk about something very important today, the weekly offertory. The offertory is a critical part of the life and sustenance of the church. If there is no offertory, the parishes can't survive and can't fulfill their missions. Offertory is the very foundation of a successful parish. It enables the parish to function on a day-to-day basis. And we need to remind our parishioners on a regular basis about what it is and what it does. We want you to leave here today with some guidelines on what to do to keep your offertory strong, when to do it, how to do it, and who can help you with it. Would like to provide you with some tools to help you to do that. I'd like to talk first a little bit about Catholic giving in the United States. In 2012, the University of Notre Dame Institute for Church Life published a report called The Unleashing Catholic Generosity, explaining the Catholic giving gap in the United States. In that report, they said that American Catholics are less likely than the rest of the population to give 10% or more of their income as voluntary contributions. Catholics are also less likely to give to the church, with only about 1 in 5 reporting that they give to religious causes. The single most important factor explaining this giving gap is a lack of spiritual engagement with money. The tendency of American Catholics to separate money from spiritual matters is a key factor in explaining the lack of giving. So why is there this giving gap? Well, economic uncertainty is not the reason. The Catholic giving gap has been known and traced for decades, and it's not because Catholics have less money to give. Catholics hover near the national average in terms of socioeconomic status, which makes sense because we have very good schools from kindergarten up to higher education. Catholics they're slightly above national average in annual income. So why is it that Catholics don't give? One concern of many Catholics is the clerical control of money and accountability, or a lack of openness. People today are much more likely to ask questions about where the money goes. Other reasons why Catholics don't give: alienation, a belief that the parish doesn't need my money, pastor's leadership style, or if there's a lack of participation or inclusion of the laity. So the conclusion from the Notre Dame study was that when parishioners feel a part of the planning and vision for their parish, when they get excited about all the great things that their donated money can accomplish, this empowers them and gives them a sense of ownership, which leads to more generous giving. Most of the parishes in our diocese are holding steady with their offertory, as well as maintaining their pledge returns to the Church Alive campaign. A few others are seeing a bit of a dip. If your offertory is leveling off or decreasing, you need to take proactive steps to address it. It will not increase on its own. We are all creatures of habit. There are many things we do daily without thinking. Parishioners need to be reminded that parish expenses increase with inflation. We get regular messages from the grocery store or everywhere else that we go that their expenses have increased, and we accept them as a regular part of life. If you aren't reminding your parishioners that the costs of keeping your parish are increasing, they won't think of it themselves. So to maintain your regular parish operations, your offertory needs to keep pace with your regular expenses. We sometimes think that we should not mention finances to our parishioners, but they need regular feedback on this to stay involved. We need to keep informing them about all the good things that their collection monies are doing. Likewise, it's critical to be thanking people on a regular basis. We collect money every week, but I wonder how many times we thank people for that. If you find your offertory leveling off or even beginning to slide, what should you do about it? You can do an offertory increase campaign. What is an offertory increase program? Simply put, it's a way that you let your people know that you need more from them in the collection every week. How does this work? Well, through a series of letters and other communications, you let your parishioners know what you do with the funds that they provide. If there's a negative difference between what's coming in and what's going out, you need to let them know what the increase needs to be. The important part is they need to be asked. The letters are usually prepared and are mailed out over a series of weeks. A typical offertory increase program lasts 4 to 6 weeks. You ask your people to prayerfully consider what they can do to increase what they give to the church every week. At one point in the program, you ask your parishioners to indicate to you what they would like to promise to give for the year. There's a sheet in your packet that lists current contributions along with sample increases of 25%, 30%, and 40%. Most people would not feel those slight increases in their giving, but if your offertory went up by 25%, it could make a huge difference in the health of your parish's income. Can you do an offertory increase program on your own? Absolutely you can. Can we help you with it if you haven't done it before? Yes, we can. Either way, it works about 90% of the time. The data show that if you trust your people, if they trust you, if you're honest and truthfully explain why you need it and what it's for, if you ask your parishioners in a respectful way to prayerfully consider and respond, they will. If you decide that you need some direct assistance with this, we have 3 outside companies who provide a more hands-on approach, and they are available to speak to you today and answer your questions about that. So why is it a good time to think about this? It's a good time to consider an offertory program for late spring or early fall, so you don't compete with parish share. Easter is March 27th this year, so you would have time now to schedule an offertory campaign before the summer festival starts. But too often our offertory time at Mass is too rushed, and people give what happens to be in their pocket or in their purse. So we need to teach our parishioners how to be more deliberate about their giving. So there are 3 ways you have to do this. You can do it by yourself, you can do it with help from our stewardship office, or you can do it with outside help. Why does this work? People have money for things that are important to them, and they need to feel your need. If you talk to your people in a respectful and prayerful way, good things will happen. Whatever you decide to do, please keep in mind that whatever expenses you incur in doing an offertory increase program, they come back to you as a deduction from next year's parish share assessment. So you would have to make a cash outlay to do the program, but that amount, whatever it is, would be an automatic deduction off your 2017 assessment made at this time next year. So please don't ignore the warning signs. Try to address this proactively. You don't want to get to a point where you have a pipe break and you have an emergency situation and you need to ask people for money, because it doesn't all come in at once, and it takes planning to even set it up to ask. Offertory increases play a critical role in the ability of a parish to serve the community and minister to God's people.